In a day and age where the schoolwork just seems to keep piling up, we as students are fully capable of becoming accustomed to stress like it's a part of our 9 to 5 routine. However, the body does not easily identify between a big stress or a little one. Rather, the after effects of stress, like homework by the average procrastinator, stacks up and evidently takes a toll on our mental and emotional health, and significantly our academic performance. Stress is the body's reaction to stimuli that ruptures your natural balance. Biologically, stress induces hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol to ensure that we react quickly and effectively to these changes in order to meet the demands of certain situations. For instance, when an alarm bell sounds, these stress hormones, alongside the loud and obnoxious ringing, act as a call for action to get the hell out and sends messages to the brain accordingly. Thing is, when students are faced with a constant demand of deadlines, assignments, or otherwise, this piques the same hormonal response as if you were in life-threatening danger. The body releases the hormone cortisol into the bloodstream, which influences our brain's memory and learning formation. This polyfunctional hormone in excess leads to bioreducing over 1,300 biochemicals that leave us strained physically and mentally, not to mention that we're aging in the process. This also includes a cumulative decline in our cognitive functions. However, when stress is pent up, there is a halt in our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for rational behaviours. So what do? We lash out. We binge eat on simple carbs like chocolates, lollies and soft drink. And you know what? We feel awful. Of course, there's an optimal level of stress that, when reached, can be beneficial. During an experiment in 1908, psychologists Robert Yerkes and John Dillingham advanced the interplay between performance and stress by experimenting and stimulating the stress hormones through mild electrical shocks on. Set within the boundaries of a maze, they first witnessed a peak in conditions when the sudden, sharp release of both cortisol and adrenaline fueled these rodents into completion. However, when the electrical current was amplified, the mice would scurry around aimlessly, as if looking for a way to escape. The end results were codified into what is called the Yerkes-Dodson graph. From this graph, there are two distinct features. The upward curve of the N graph fortifies the notion that stress is fruitful, but only up to a certain point. Beyond that, further stress only proves to worsen our thinking, learning, and overall efficiency. From this experiment evolved the neurobiological term frazzle. When the brain becomes so swamped with stress, be it with school anxiety, the pressure of exams, or the copious amounts of assignments that lay ahead, our brain and its ability to function becomes impaired. So how does it minimize this? The prefrontal areas just simply pull out and pass the baton further into the midbrain to the amygdala. Here it has to juggle emotion, survival instinct, and memory functions in fight or flight mode. For good measure, the amygdala stunts our attention centers and narrows the available space in memory to take in and process information. Frazzle in this way limits our ability to form sentences, organize thoughts, and make rational decisions the lower we go down this arc, eventually causing us to hulk out. Writing a decent paper or preparing for an exam whilst frazzled? Not a chance. Years later, another case study registered similar results. In it, college students were tasked with reciting a sequence of numbers as researchers mapped their levels of stress hormones. All went well. According to the results, the neurochemicals produced by cortisol enabled them to recall sufficiently. But by intensifying the variables, lengthening the passage, adding a deadline, the hormones served to only damage the function of the hippocampus, the brain's main organ in memory and learning. According to Mission Australia, stress is the greatest personal concern for youth, and school pressure is one of the leading providers of stress in teenagers. Out of the 13,600 young people aged 15 to 19 years whom were asked, over 40% of respondents indicated that they were either extremely or very concerned with both factors of stress in school or study, and it looks like females have it the worst. In response to this, Mission Australia concluded many young people feel under pressure. Now, before the Generation X and Baby Boomer folks start up a riot, Mission Australia has expressed concern over the potentially costly reforms students are currently facing. Comparisons are being made, and research shows that students today are more stressed than students who were studying during the Great Depression. And you know what? They're becoming more and more stressed as the years go by. A study led by researchers in the United States surveyed nearly 80,000 students, of which over 65,000 students were shown to have one or two health criterions rivaling that of students in the 1930s, such as depression and anxiety, with substantial increases in both. Being teenagers, we are aware that we have yet to mature to that of those older than us, and there is an insurmountable body of evidence to back this up. However, times are changing, and whether it is obvious or not, we are becoming more stressed, depressed, and worried about their next test, and the next one, and the next one after that. We students only ask that this generation gap be sidestepped with a little bit of understanding on your part. After all, school has changed immensely since our teachers' time, and there has to be some loss associated with that. This is our decline in mental state. We are in a state of growth, and this is difficult to do whilst doing assignment after assignment. Education is important, no doubt about that, but also give us time to grow.